are.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Merry Christmas and have a good show.
Thank you.
We are going live in 3, 2, 1. You're live now.
Hello, everybody, and Merry Christmas. I'm back after actually a week of break from doing my shows. It was quite of a spontaneous break, I would say, and a really interesting time that took place. The reason why I wasn't live last week is actually because pretty much like a nasty cold caught me, and I wasn't able to speak. That's why I wasn't able to go live last week. It was a very interesting time. I experienced a walk-in, literally in the middle of the fever that I was struggling with. I would say many people are kind of experiencing a lot of flu-like symptoms these days, so I would kind of say that it's a reaction to all of these frequencies that we are literally being beamed with these days. Well, tonight I would say we are having a special Christmas episode. If you are kind of a little bit sick of this or of this whole Christmas craziness, then I invite you to join for tonight's episode with me on the Innerstand2Ascend. At the end, I'm going to basically share quite a special announcement that I'm really excited about, and it's actually something that came out quite spontaneously. It's something that my walk-in suggested that I should start, but I'm going to leave it at the end. So, and then I will share more things about it. So tonight we have a quite of a special day, and actually 12 days of Kryst-Mass. So I'm going to share a little bit about it. Maybe a few of you have already heard actually what the 12 days of the Kryst-Mass are, but I'm going to share a little bit more details on it. And actually about not just 12 days, but 13 days, because there is something special that also took place on the 3rd of January 2013. So we are going to look into that as well. And then I'm going to share a couple of stories with you. We'll see how good I am at storytelling. All right. So without talking too much in between, actually, I'm just going to say a little bit first, because actually the way we can look at the Christmas time, many of us think that it starts from the 24th of December, when supposedly Jesus was born, but actually Joshua 12, who is considered to be Jesus Christ, by many he was born already on the 22nd of November. So he was actually already a 1-month-old infant when we celebrate his birth. So that's one of the things that has been a little bit twisted. And I would say that the reason why it was set for the 24th of December is actually because it's also related to the full moon. So we sit by the table, we wait for that, at least in Polish tradition. I'm not sure how it is in other countries, but basically in Poland, when it comes to the moment when that, let's say, like a Christmas dinner starts on the 24th of December, we basically sit by the table when the first star on the sky is visible. I would actually look into it as a certain level of a distortion, probably connected to the Nibiru and such aspects, but I'm not gonna go too much into it. However, the full moon and the connection to the Christmas Eve, that's very much tangible. And that's allowing the energy of all of these rituals that many people are still attached to actually be later on used by certain forces. So it is important what we are doing during these days, because actually the 12 days of the Kryst-Mass, or actually 13 days, as we will find out a little bit later, they start with the 21st of December, which is the winter solstice. And if somebody would like to find out more on what that winter solstice is, I would recommend to check out the latest podcast that I had with Caroline Tamek. Actually, a day after the solstice took place. It's available on my YouTube channel. So anyone who would like to check that out, find out more about this and see how you can actually disconnect from that negative part of the December solstice and use these energies in a good way for themselves. That's where we basically, me and Caroline, are giving more insight into it. So I would highly recommend to check it out if you haven't yet. So that's when it starts. And then we've got the 12 days of the Kryst-Mass. And I'm just going to give a little bit of insight on where actually this comes from. So basically on each of these 12 days, we have something called the Veka codes. And basically, if we think about it this way, just to give a simple explanation of the Veka codes, let's say they bring certain frequencies to the grids. And normally, if the planet at that time was in organic circumstances, we wouldn't even have to bring the Jeshua 12 to this planet. But the reason why he was brought here is to restore something called the D12, Dimension 12 Divine Blueprint, which is like a planet's original encryption. And the planet keeps evolving and ascending by basically accreting the frequencies based on this pattern called the Divine Blueprint. About 200,000 years ago, in an event called the Fall of Brenawi, the planet lost this potential and it basically activated something called the 10 pulse. So instead of accreting based on the pattern of 12, it started going Metatronic. That means it was basically activating only up to dimension 10 and not even higher. So we lost that divine blueprint that the planet used to follow. And we started, instead of ascending, we started to descend, degenerate our original templates. And that was also manifesting among angelic humans. And basically that imprint of 12 strength angelic human has been lost, meaning that originally we used to have 12 strengths in our template, but let's say that this potential has been hijacked to a certain degree because the planet also suffered. And we always, whenever something happens to the planetary grids, we also lose a certain potential. We also suffer because of these mass attacks. So that's been a certain pattern that the fallen angelics have been using against us for a long time. If you do something to the planet, all of the life forms, not just the human beings, are going to suffer from it. So that's what happened to 200,000 years ago. And ever since then, there's been an issue with something called the stellar activation cycle. So basically like a cycle when the stargates are being opened on this planet. And for about 200,000 years, we didn't have that opportunity to even experience a stellar activation cycle, because whenever the specific time at the end of each of the time cycles would occur, basically the stargates would be closed. Certain guardians wouldn't allow for opening them, because if the stargates got reversed, the planet would completely go into the fall. So they kept that. So they kept the gates closed. So we are not able to get out from here, but also so we won't be able to fall completely. So it was kind of like extending this cycle in time. So the planet has more of the time to heal itself. But eventually it came to the time when there was no chance anymore for extending this in time. The gates had to open in the beginning of the 21st century. So actually, let's say like the groundwork had to be set even before. So that's why Joshua 12 incarnated 2000 years ago to already set the groundwork for something that's going to happen 2000 years later. So that's what he did. And basically, he was an infant when these frequencies started to beam into the grid. So like, as I said, he was born on the 22nd of November, 12 BC. And on the same year, these activations in the grid started happening, because basically it's not just about the work that he was doing when he was here, right? Like teaching people, helping them get through certain passages, achieve ascension. But the fact that a being with 12 DNA strands incarnated here on this planet, it was a huge event that happened on an energetic level. And it had a huge scale, because when he incarnated, it started to set this D12 divine blueprint back in motion. And it started to activate the Veka codes in the grids. We have 12 Veka codes, and each one of them is corresponding to a certain set of frequencies. So the activation of all of the 12 allowed for the D12 divine blueprint to get activated. And it's called the celebration of the Christus awakening, because it basically also enabled the planet to connect to the divine blueprint, which means connect to the Christ code, the code of the eternal life creation. So it was a huge celebration, because basically we didn't have an access to these frequencies for over 200,000 years. So that's a very long time, and that's definitely something to be happy about and something to celebrate. So I listed the names and the tones of these Veka codes. I would like to just read them briefly to kind of get this light language out there. And these are not just donations, they are also codes. Actually, the Veka codes are also like a visual forms of codes. I'm going to put them out later on my page if someone would like to access them. But for now, I'm just going to read the donations just to kind of get the frequency out there. So the first one is by Veka, Maharata Mueva. The second one is Triveka, Kira Shei Hasha. Third one, Kuveka, Kushardeiza. Fourth one, Daveka, Dadrueja. Raveka, Raeka. Number 6, Yahaya. 7, Lehaya. 8, Rushaya. 9, Shahaya. 10, Ur Imanu. 11, Tun Imanu. 12, Ekasha or Imanu. Ooh, that's a nice frequency set. So basically, working with the Veka codes allows us to get this D12 divine blueprint also back to our anatomy, even though right now that's something that I would say we went beyond that already. The Christus realignment mission, which was basically the mission where these codes would activate in the grids, and they would start to align our planetary Templar, the stargates, to a point where they would open, and they would become tangible passages that we would be able to pass through to reach other dimensional planes. The Christus realignment mission was actually supposed to start in 2002. That's actually when these codes would fully activate in the grids, and it was supposed to happen to actually end on the 21st of December 2012. And the way I would say is that the Kryst realignment mission didn't exactly work out in the way we originally expected, but actually it succeeded in a completely different way. I would say in a better way. Because normally, with the Kryst realignment mission, when people used to talk about going to this fifth dimension and stuff like that, dimension 5 would take us there, right? We would be able to normally go through these gates and reach dimension 5 or 8 or whatever. But the fact is that what happened in 2003, so let's say like a year after the Kryst realignment mission started, is that the Amenti gates that were opening on this divine blueprint, they actually got reversed. So they stopped carrying that blueprint and we needed to open up different gates. And that's why we needed to bring even a higher frequency set than the VECA codes. And that's why in 2012, something called the 13 days of the Kryst-Mass started. And I'm going to give a little bit of a reading. The full article can be found on arrayas.com, and it's basically titled The 13 Days of the Kryst-Mass. But I'm just going to read the main points and kind of explain what that was about, because actually I was seeing quite a couple of communities talking about the 12 days of the Kryst-Mass. So basically that time when the VECA codes were brought back to the grids, and that's indeed an amazing time. But there's something even more amazing that happened in 2012. So I will give a small reading on that, and I will be just stopping and explaining everything one by one, so it is basically clear and understandable for everybody. Okay. So on the 23rd of December 2012, Earth received the Arrayas Cosmina Sun 8 Eternal Life Planetary Silver Seed Atom, through which the cores of Median and Net Earth were permanently linked together through Sun 8, and the first planetary Lotus Temple plasma phase generator was born on Earth. So, just to make it clear. Earth received this silver seed atom, and the silver seed atom connects us to something called the internal creation. So it's allowing for the flows that are basically coming from the internal creation planes, which are directly connected to the God Source consciousness field, to come here, to anchor in this planet, and to override the distortions that started to occur in our divine blueprint, the 12 divine blueprint. And basically there is like a point, I would say like a critical mass point, where, as I said, the gates that were operating on the VECA codes, which are the Amenti gates, they got reversed. And there wasn't enough of the frequency of the light frequencies, which were the VECA codes, to override these distortions. So what needed to take place was like an advanced type of awakening, energetic awakening, and that was the awakening of the silver seed. Because we basically, in order, when a planet goes into the state of fall, and that's what happened in 2003 with the reversal of the Amenti gates, we needed something called the host field. And right now, we receive the host field from the Median Earth, which is a higher version of Earth that is holding its original connection to M31 galaxy, to Andromeda galaxy. So the silver seed atom allowed actually for the connection of the Median Earth core with the core of this planet called the Net Earth. Net Earth because we are still under this frequency fence that is trying to control us to a certain degree. And as I said, the first planetary Lotus Temple plasma phase generator was born on Earth. And basically the plasma phase generator, I guess you can figure out by the name itself, it's allowing for the for the planet to actually activate its plasma body and to also start the process of activation of all of the other life forms that are living on the planet. So it's an amazing change that actually it's like an amazing activation that took place here and allowed us to actually engage something called the short way home. So instead of activating different layers of the light bodies, spirit bodies, we activate the plasma body. It triggers the activation of all of the other bodies and simultaneously clears the distortions from all of them. And this way, we are basically having like a very quick return to the fields of the source. And at the same time, on the same day, the 23rd of December 2012, the Alumbra passages were opened between the median earth and the net earth fields. So basically the easiest way to understand what the Alumbra passages are. Let's say if we've got two cathedrals from a certain distance from each other, there is like a passage between the two of them, like a tunnel. And this is the Alumbra passage. So it's allowing for entry between one cathedral complex and the other, and they can be on different planets or in different stellar systems. The Alumbra passages, interestingly, they were also open during the Joshua period. So when Joshua was doing his mission on the planet, that's when some parts of the Alumbra passages were opened, because basically when they are dormant, you will never see them. It's as if they never existed. But once they get activated, certain people with certain coding are able to access them. So some of you may have memories from the biblical period of actually being able to access some underground passages. I remember myself that I was there, and it's like it was like a tunnel full of different gateways and different pathways, but somehow I remember that I always knew where to go, and many of us who were targeted at that time, as there was like this whole agenda on kind of like a hunting for the Christic people, they would be actually hiding in these passages, and they were giving them extreme protection. So actually when they would be going through these Alumbra passages, and those intruders, they actually weren't able to see these passages, so it's like it was putting like a cloak of invisibility on them. And it was important to open the Alumbra passages because actually at the times of Joshua we were already working on something that I'm reading about right now, which is called the failsafe. So it was like a plan that some of us came up with, that if this alignment, that if the Christos realignment mission, which was bringing back this divine blueprint to the grids and not allowing for these Veka codes to get reversed, we would eventually activate something called the failsafe. So we would bring in the plasma frequencies, and we also needed to set like a groundwork for this. So biblical period was full of grid work because there was plan A and plan B, right? And right now we are at the plan B, which is actually even better than plan A. Okay, so the next paragraph. On the 26th of December 2012, what was our net Earth elemental atomic field became our Aurora Ascension Earth elemental atomic field through its planetary Tantri Asia blend with Median Ascension Earth, through which the Earth we live on now regained its Ascension planet status. So what does it mean, the Tantri Asia blend? So to kind of give an explanation, once the silver seed awakened in the fields of net Earth, and the median Earth had already its silver seed awakened, basically it allowed for the energetic link to occur between the two of these. So we can imagine like these two planets kind of starting to fold towards each other in order to connect together. And that's what is actually going to happen over the course of next 900 years, where basically the field of the net Earth will be merging with the field of the median Earth. And that's allowing And right now the Stan3 blend is allowing for the connection of the net Earth that we live on right now with the host field. So there is really nothing that can get our planet out of alignment anymore, which is great news. Okay, on the 31st of December 2012, our Aurora Earth, so the blended fields of the net Earth and the median Earth, engages its eye of Arrhenius Alhumbrus pulse point, through which its first planetary lotus temple plasma phase generator begins generation of elemental atomic plasma quantum. So basically, the activation of this plasma phase generator allows for continuous frequency upgrade in context of getting more and more plasmas to the field of Aurora Ascension Earth. And this way we are fully protected by the host field. Okay, on the 1st and the 2nd of January 2013, our Aurora Ascension Earth will engage its Eye of Arrhenius Alhumbrus flashpoint, through which the Kryst-Mass Alhumbrus span of Arrhenius opens, opening the Alhumbra trans-time passages, deep lanes, island ascension platforms on our Aurora Ascension Earth. Okay, so to put it very simply, as this may sound really crazy if somebody is not really familiar with these terms, I'm just gonna explain it very simply. So we don't only have the connection between the net Earth and the median Earth, but we also have the connection to the core, which means to the Sun 8, from which all of the creation comes from. So we can kind of look at it this way, that we've got the connection with the creation point, with the source of creation. Because actually when we talk about this plasma core suns, from which everything comes from, we've got the Sun 8, which is actually called an invisible sun, because actually there's been many people trying to compare the universe to an atom. And if we look at it this way, it makes a lot of sense, because actually Sun 8, it's as if it was in the whole creation. Nothing is outside of the Sun 8 fields. It's just a matter of how much it is connected to Sun 8, and now we've got a tangible, actual connection with it. So actually everything resides within the fields of Sun 8, everything that is in the external and internal creation. So the Sun 8 is also in the center of the Sun 8. We've got the host of Kryst-Mass, indelible records, and we've got also something called the Crystal flame. And whenever I'm working with people kind of trying to release the traumas, release contracts, I tell them visualize the white flame, because actually the white flame is symbolizing the flame of the Crystal, the eternal Crystal flame, from which we all came from. So from that place, you can basically clear anything that doesn't belong to you. And in context of opening of the span of Arrhenius, we've got this tangible connection with the Sun 8 field. And this way, if we basically had that problem with the reversed plasmas coming in, if you make your connection with the Sun 8 through the span of Arrhenius, you're not in danger of getting your plasmas reversed. Okay, so I hope that is more clear now. Okay, so on the 3rd of January 2013, which is the 13th day of Kryst-Mass, our Aurora Ascension Earth engages its Sun 8 Kryst-hosted planetary deification point, the Alhumbra crystal spire, Kryst-host protectorate field, permanently activates, and the crystal river of Arrhenius flows, engage permanent circulation through our Aurora Ascension Earth, 1/3 Kryst-host elemental atomic field, ushering in the dawn of the Age of Enlightenment and our Aurora Earth's permanent passage into the path of planetary Crystal Adashi-free ascension. Life after Earth equals life on Aurora Ascension Earth, here and now, and for the generations of Aurora Earth, that will span the next 900 years of our planetary crystal river host to Kryst-Mass ascension. So basically, something called the deification point is a point of releasing the Metatronic code from the templates and fully aligning with the plasma template. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. So that's what the planet has achieved on the 3rd of January 2013. So actually in a couple of days we are going to have like an 11-year anniversary of that event, which is amazing because it's actually giving us, once you're connected to the host field, which you can easily do by the plasma body activation, you may experience different psychic attacks. You may feel like there's something kind of trying to go into your fields. It may happen. But the reality is that there is nothing that can infiltrate you because the host is holding you in your protection. There may be some people that decide to take on certain beings that are hanging in their fields and through the host basically take them along with them. So basically, like an example, there could be some person that decides to host, let's say like there's a woman and she decides to give a host to her brother, and her brother is having a possession issue, but he decides for the host. So she's gonna basically transmute a certain level of imprints for him, because that's basically the agreement that they come across. And once the time comes, the woman is gonna ascend very easily, and her brother also. And that being that is attached to that gentleman is basically going to have a choice. It can also go along with the host, because every being can choose the host, even really nasty beings, which have been harming this planet for a long time, they still have that choice. Or it can decide to go into the fall. The free will choice is always respected in the name of the Kryst, so that's how it works. And basically, these 13 days of the Kryst-Mass, this is something to celebrate, even more than the 12 days, because right now, almost we can say 11 years ago, that's when this planet has got back its full potential as full ascension planet. So this is something that we have been waiting for a very long time. It's something that we didn't achieve in the beginning of the 21st century, but now we've got it with us, so we can use this gift. And we can also give this gift to others. And I will just read one more paragraph, which is on the other page, because I just think that it kind of refers to what I was saying a moment ago. So, over the next 900 years, Aurora Earth time, our Aurora Earth will become an intergalactic ascension station for many life forms and forms of consciousness whom will be seeking final Kryst host for evacuation from total rift falling galaxies, such as our Milky Way galaxy, its many falling solar systems, such as our own. Many Kryst-hosting life forms and consciousness will begin visiting and incarnating on our Aurora Ascension Earth to progressively receive the bioregenesis they will need to pass through the Alumbra passages into the various deep lanes, island ascension platforms of the Crystal River failsafe host. So basically, the new generations that will be incarnating here, most of them will be carrying, let's say, the plasma factor that will be allowing them to also spread this host to others. And some beings that incarnate in other places of this Milky Way might also decide for an incarnation here in order to get their ascension potential back, activate their plasma body, and get out of here. Because basically, as mentioned, it's an intergalactic ascension station. So we are actually one of very, very few places in this Milky Way that actually hold this potential of an ascension station through which other beings can basically get out back to other safe places, like, let's say, the Andromeda Galaxy. Okay, so I talked a little bit about the 13 days of the Kryst-Mass. So I'm gonna share a little bit on, it's gonna be a little bit of a personal story, perhaps. I'm thinking what I'm gonna start with. All right. So I would like to speak a little bit about the places which are related to winter, since I guess when we think about Christmas, we kind of identify it with snow and such things. So I would like to talk about the tribe that has been a long time forgotten, and probably many of you never was really even thinking about it so much, but there's a special civilization which used to inhabit the Himalayan mountains in Asia. And the Himalayan mountains are also a place where one of the planetary vortices is. Basically, I think it's either the fourth or the fifth vortex, which is on this planet. And basically, these planetary vortices are also specific energy anchoring points. It's kind of like we can imagine it that these are like the chakras of the planet. Once you open these chakras, they allow for specific energy flow to the planet. And one of them is in the Himalayan mountains. It's probably most of us only kind of heard about the Mount Everest as the highest mountain on the planet and nothing else except for that. But actually, in these mountains, there was like a very, very advanced civilization, which was really amazing. When I was in a process of activating my higher dimensional strengths a few weeks back, I had to reconnect with that, I would say, Himalayan aspect of myself, because it was actually holding a lot of keys for my activations. It was holding a certain amount of knowledge. Basically, if someone is into DNA activations and they feel stuck at a certain moment, if you're feeling stuck, that means you're coming across some, not exactly a blockage, but like an empty point. And you need to fill that point with a certain frequency. And then that frequency is probably corresponding to one of your past incarnates. For me, that was my Himalayan self, which I became aware of, I would say, 2 years ago. So that was like already a while that I was aware that I was actually living there. That was about 16,000 years ago. Yeah, 16,000 years ago. So actually that was even before that frequency fence was set on the planet. So we had much more, we were able to do much more magical things, let's say. I will share a little bit of an information of actually what were the characteristics of that civilization. I just feel like I'm supposed to bring it to the awareness, because actually there are certain people who are basically, right now there are certain people, and they are all over the planet, that are carrying the coding of this Himalayan race, and they incarnated specifically in this timeline in order to bring the coding of that time. Because basically the Himalayan people, let's call them like this, I'm sure they have like a specific name of the tribe, but I actually didn't even check that. Anyways, they carry very unique coding that was bringing frequencies literally from other stellar systems. They were able to connect with their consciousness to different places of this galaxy and even further, and directly anchor this frequency to these grids. So right now they are pretty much needed for certain grid work. And basically, when they were living among the Himalayan mountains, and we may think like, okay, so how did they survive when it was so cold? Well, first of all, it wasn't as cold as it is right now. But actually, what is very special about these races is that if we looked at the structure of the Himalayan mountains, some of them might even remind us of pyramids. So first of all, they didn't exactly live in tents on the snow, but they were actually living inside of the mountains. There are specific passages in the Himalayan mountains that once you have an access to these passages, you can literally go inside of these beautiful crystal pyramids. And there was a specific connection that the Himalayan people had to these pyramids. It was like a really beautiful time before the frequency fence was set on this planet, because we had a much more direct connection to the elements. The elements were co-creating along with us. So I literally had that one memory of my Himalayan self, basically kind of co-creating along with the ice. So I was just kind of like sitting outside, and I was just making specific kind of like movements with my hands, and the water was following my movements, my intention basically. And it was, basically the ice, I was like creating beautiful ice sculptures, literally from the water itself. I think I was first kind of like melting the snow and then creating beautiful ice sculptures. And that was completely normal at these times. So I wasn't the only one. And the people there, they had an amazing connection to the planet as a whole. Basically, the fact that the climate was a little bit colder in these areas, it was something quite beneficial, because this tribe was very much connected to the water element. Most of the traditions involved with that race, it was related to co-creating with the water and treating it actually as a sacred being. So it was something very profound, I would say. And they had also, the pyramids were also like, I would say, like multidimensional stations. So when we right now think of Giza, the Great Pyramid, it was actually also like a multidimensional station where different races would be coming in and having direct contact with the human race. So it was kind of the same with the Himalayan mountains and the pyramids out there, where these mountains were in special alignments with the stars. And that was allowing different races to literally come through the passages that were opening between the pyramids and, let's say, different stellar constellations. So that was just something really special. And it was also allowing us to ground, anchor certain frequency on this planet through these passages that were being opened. What happened with that civilization was actually, I wouldn't say that it was sad, because actually the way it ended is that it ended happily for most of the people out there. So basically, when we think about there's this very popular motif that is in the Game of Thrones, with basically those intruders coming in. That's kind of what started happening with this tribe. It started to be basically invaded by different intruders that basically wanted to wipe out this tribe from this planet, so they cannot do the amazing work that they were doing. So massive infiltrations started to take place, and it started to affect the whole place, where basically some of the people were starting to get infiltrated, beings coming into their bodies, and they started to reverse the energy of that sacred place. That's why a certain decision had to be made, because there was one thing that many people from the tribe were aware of, that if they don't close these pyramids, if they don't deactivate them, they will basically start to activate on the Metatronic code. And that's something that most of us wanted to avoid. So what was done is very interesting. And I was basically doing that along with other women from the tribe. And actually that was the first memory that came through, that kind of last moment that I had among that civilization. So at first I really didn't understand why I had to do what I did, but so as I said, the pyramids were trans-time passages. So actually, if these pyramids were activated in a specific way, they were literally able to open the gates to move people into a different space-time. So that's actually what took place in order to save the rest of the tribe that wasn't infiltrated. 8 women from the tribe, they literally stood up at the top of the pyramids, which were the anchoring points, and they were using their coding to get that frequency out there through these pyramids directly through their bodies to open up a passage. And that allowed the Himalayan civilization to move to different fields of existence, which was mostly the inner earth. So basically they were able to move into that space which was between the parallel earth and this earth. And this allowed them to basically be safe and very peacefully co-create along with the source in harmony. And basically that was also needed to take place in order to save these souls that were carrying this coding, because basically it was very essential for the planet as a whole. So those women that decided to open up these gates and basically become like kind of make their bodies vessels for that high frequency, they all died because the beams of light were so strong that their atomic structure wasn't able to take it anymore. So basically they kind of sacrificed themselves so the others could come through. But that was the mission, that was basically the mission that they have consciously decided for. So I just wanted to bring the Himalayan civilization a little bit into the human consciousness back. So we could again ponder a little bit about this story. But the good news is, as I said before, is that certain people who carry the coding of this race, they came back in contemporary times in order to support this planet, and the coding of this race is carried in different tribes right now. So there might be some people from Asia who carry this coding, there might be some people from Europe who carry it. It's all over the place basically. So we could bring it to the grids. So if some of you had some kind of memories that were showing up as I was talking about it, you may carry this coding as well. Okay, and I would like to say a couple of words about the land called Greenland, because I think that's also an interesting story as well. And on many of the sessions that I was doing with people, it turns out that this is kind of like an imprint that is saved in the human consciousness, but it's not fully in their awareness yet, but it's there. So I think that it's worth talking about that. So I think that the Greenland, they say that it was officially discovered by the Vikings sometime in the 11th century, but I might be wrong as well. I'm really not a history person. But I would say that the Greenland is the land of ice, which is kind of like on the coast of the island. But if you go deeper, it's actually starting to become a beautiful continent with a lot of green. And that's why we actually have the name Greenland. Because when we think about this continent, it's actually, well, it's mostly covered with ice and there's a lot of snow and it's so cold, right? But actually, that's only, I would say, on the south part. On the south part. Once you go further, and I have that memory, and I was saying that on many of my sessions when people would be asking me, okay, what are my previous lives? I would be seeing that there's this moment where you go inside of the land, inside of the continent, actually going north. And there's a moment when there is this kind of like a beautiful passage, as if there was like a layer, like a shift of frequency. And once you pass through it, a few steps later, you actually come across beautiful grass, beautiful, colorful plants, rivers, and actually even some very advanced buildings. And it's as if you literally stepped into a completely different realm. And funnily enough, there's like a system of portals between Greenland and Antarctica, because we've got the same case with Antarctica, where funnily enough, these two places are pretty much protected. And that's because they hold a lot of secrets. That's because in Greenland and Antarctica, there are a lot of trans-time passages. The angelic humans used to know it in the past, and they were actually using these passages to also go to the place called Inner Earth. So it was kind of like a place in between the planes. And it was these portals, I actually wrote that down. Okay, I forgot I wrote that down. So these portals were actually gateways to other realms beyond the ice wall. And as I said, it was an ancient secret of angelic humans. So if you wanted to go beyond that ice wall that is surrounding the continents of this world, you were able to do that in the past. And you were able to freely pass through these passages, and you would actually find yourself on the other side of the ice wall. And actually that would be like a different Earth probability, because actually when we talk about Earth, I was explaining that a little bit in my Symphony of Realities podcast, where actually Earth has 12 probabilities. It's like a one set of 12 probabilities, and well, everything is based on this divine constant of 12. So we've got the D12 divine blueprint, and also the Earth as a planet has 12 probable versions of itself. So it's actually going through different timelines at the same time. And we are on one probability. But there are certain portals on this planet that would be connecting us to different probabilities at the same time. But that requires us to kind of go beyond these membranes, energetic membranes that are surrounding these probable sets. And these passages, these portals, especially in Greenland and Antarctica, kind of open up these gateways to these other reality systems that we could actually co-create with. But they have been blocked from each other, so we don't have an access to these frequencies. But just to kind of conclude that, Greenland is a place where there are Greenlands. And maybe some of us will be able to experience it. If not in this life, then maybe some of you also experienced it back in the past. So I just wanted to share a little bit about these two aspects to civilizations, because actually these are the places that I noticed that we don't talk about so much when we consider the stargates. Usually we would talk about the Ayers Rock in Australia, or the Giza complex, or Florida, which is like the place of the planetary gruel. But actually the Himalayan mountains and Greenland, they are extremely interesting places. And I do sense that they will play an important role when it comes to anchoring certain frequencies as well. All right, so I think that we've got it covered. So now I will get to my special announcement. And that special announcement is that I'm going to be starting from 2024 new classes. And they are called the PLASMAREGENESIS Masterclass. And basically, the Plasmaregenesis Masterclass is supposed to bring together dedicated students who'd like to expand their spiritual skills and evolve towards full alignment with the new earth that is awaiting us, which is actually already here. During every meeting, each member is learning new skills and receives necessary tools to assist themselves and others in the transition process that we are at right now. So basically, these classes are not necessarily for someone who would like to be a healer. There will be also certain exercises, certain classes when we will be kind of learning how to help others, but actually they are focused on self-alignment and on receiving tools where you could become a sovereign being, where you don't have to ask for help from other people anymore when you're having a certain issue, but you're actually learning to do things yourself. We will be doing different activations. We will be going through the process of, I would say, reversing the reversals. And we will be learning a lot of interesting things. I already started to get different kind of techniques, programs. So I'm very excited myself. One thing that I would like to mention here, that this is basically not a guru program or anything like that. We'll be learning all of this information together as equals. So basically, there will be probably like a little bit of me receiving certain kind of like, okay, we will do this and this and this, and this will be the main topic. But probably I will be kind of receiving a lot of things, like kind of going live and explaining this to all of you. So we'll be learning all of this together, discovering the material, all of us. The way this masterclass is designed is that every week the information is given through the live frequency wave. So there will be a lot of new information being given directly during the classes. On special occasions, we will be also doing live journeys and activations to synchronize along with the live wave. So if there will be special days like we had, like we are having the 13 days of Kryst-Mass right now, we'll be also utilizing these frequencies in order to activate ourselves, in order to align ourselves, and basically learn how to use these frequencies for a certain outcome, which is very exciting. And I will just kind of explain what the word plasmaregenesis means. It's kind of like the way I was kind of named that yesterday is kind of like it's an advanced bioregenesis. So the plasmaregenesis theory utilizes internal creation, plasma frequencies for multidimensional realignment. Every living being has a plasma body, which is our indelible connection to the God Source consciousness field. We can use this link to get access to the purest and most powerful energies ever existing, the Krystic plasmas. Krystic plasmas of internal creation are unique because they can override any of the light body distortions and harmonize any miasmatic imprints in our DNA template. They are also the most effective way to align yourself with the Krystic timelines that this planet has chosen for itself. So basically, these classes are aimed for receiving the best possible outcome on your spiritual journey, for getting out of all of these 5D, Metatron, whatever, spiritual dogmas that we have been receiving for a very long time. And basically, the plasmaregenesis takes healing on a completely different level, where you start to heal the core of your disease, and you begin to work with organic frequencies of internal creation that start to reverse the reversals of your multidimensional body layers and align your higher states of your being, and align you with the higher states of your being towards biospiritual restoration of organic blueprint for health, DNA activation, and awakening your soul purpose. So basically, this is the best you can get out of this program. The classes will be done in very small groups, So it's possible that there might be a few different groups, so also the timing could be more flexible. And they will be done in small groups, so everybody could have a space to ask questions, express themselves. I will be also doing my best to align with the needs of the group. If there will be anything you would like to work on, I will be basically very much open for any kind of suggestions. And basically, the reason why I decided to release that program is because I feel that right now we are at this time where there's a lot going on a planetary level, on a personal levels as well. All of these very crazy activations that are taking place right now. We are seeing these beautiful formations on the sky, and the way I was seeing this, I actually figured it out today when I was connecting to the nomisid of the planet, is that actually that the planetary nomisid, which is actually, let's say, like carrying this transfiguration factor and like this rainbow plasma energies for all of the human beings that would like to take it and connect to the nomisid. Basically, these beautiful rainbow formations that we are seeing, they are coming right from the core of the planet. The nomisid started breathing again. It started kind of pulsating in a specific rhythm. And whenever it's pulsating, it's kind of sending out the frequency right from the core of the planet, and is going up through the surface and also to the atmosphere. So these beautiful rainbow formations that we may be seeing, kind of like as if there was like a some kind of light in the sky, it's also coming from the nomisid of the planet. So I think that's something beautiful. And for sure we will be, during these classes, we will be learning how to use these frequencies for ourselves and for the best possible outcome. So I'm really excited for this. This is actually, like, I would say, a totally new idea of my new walk-in. So if any of you would be interested, I would encourage you to visit my website and my Facebook page. I will be posting all the details about it. I just kind of wanted to wait to make a special announcement. And I'm really excited about this. I think that it will be a great idea also for all of us to connect, to get to know each other through the common energy work that we'll be doing together. And as I said, we'll be learning a little bit of the technical stuff about the mechanics of this universe, about how all of this works and how it's related to our biospiritual anatomy. But will be also actually the main focus of this masterclass is to basically master your own anatomy. So there will be a lot of techniques, a lot of practical exercises that we'll be doing together in order to basically in the future teach it also to other people. The information that I gathered, they are already in my template. I just need to write them down on the paper. They are coming from ARTA. So basically they are coming from M31 Andromeda Galaxy, which is directly also connected to the Halls of Cosmina's records. So I was receiving these informations when I was on ARTA for the past 2 months, and now I returned that aspect to my body. So now I have an access to that knowledge, but basically for that whole time I was being connected to the cosmic records through ARTA, which is like a very close connection and also kind of like a mini version of these records on that planet. So it's extremely exciting. I welcome all of you who are eager to join. As I said, the information are already on my website, and they will be on my Facebook page probably tonight or tomorrow. So I'm really excited for this. And for now, I wish you a wonderful Christmas break. I hope that you're going to have a wonderful time. Happy New Year as well. And I'm going to see you on People for People platform in 2024. So have a wonderful time again and see you soon.